Hey everyone, Rho here. Today we're having a little fun and discussing the absolutely stunning return of the squats, or more specifically the Leagues of Votann. Just how are they going to fit into this current galaxy? And is their fate the one we've always believed? So with that said, let's just waste no time and jump straight in. Now of course, back on April Fool's Day, we were all treated to the ultimate tease of teases, with the introduction, or should I say return, of the long departed Squat faction. And as it turned out, it was no mere April Fools. The Squat faction would be making its unbelievable return to the 40k universe. Now, older fans will remember the Squats from the earliest days within the hobby, and there's actually a post over on the Warhammer community website giving a bit of a brief rundown for those of you who may not know. They were back then, in the early days, every inch the sci-fi equivalent of their fantasy cousins. And I'll be honest, not only am I majorly surprised to see them making a return to the setting, but I'm extremely intrigued to see how they can be updated to fit within this new lore. Because this isn't the bright and colourful days of the Warhammer I entered into as a kid. Those glorious days of 2nd edition. The universe of Warhammer 40k since then has truly evolved into the grim dark. It's had decades of background and hundreds of novels. And now, after all this time, the Squats are back. It is a real major surprise. So what can we expect? Well, honestly, your guess is as good as mine here. And until we get some more info drop on the community website, we can only take some wild speculation. But hey, we're fans of the lore and that's what we do best. So today I wanted to discuss the fate of the Leagues. What led to the fall of their race? Is it the one we've always believed? Or are there other possibilities? And how is it going to tie in to their current situation? Well, before we begin, we know the Leagues of Votann are an independent faction within their own right. And it was stated very clearly in the Leagues of Votann Return article that they have an uneasy relationship with the Imperium. So whatever their fate and current situation, it has to make sense in regards to this. So let's have a little discussion and let the speculation begin. Now, first of all, in the community post it made a lot of references to previous appearances or teases of the Squats, and we got the fairly straightforward line in regards to the fate we've always known, their off-screen fate having been wiped out by a Tyranid hive fleet. And this obviously has been the long-running belief, and I think it's most likely going to remain the case. The Squats were largely wiped out by the Tyranids. It's about the most logical fate I can think of for an empire within the setting. Something that would be so completely an eradication. I haven't got the new Tyranid Codex yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a reference or tease of it within there. GW does always, after all, love to drop those teasers. However, the problem with this has always been, well, what hive fleet was it? No Tyranid hive fleet has ever reached the location the Squat homeworlds were, which for you newer fans was pretty much the dead centre of the galaxy, just to the left of the Maelstrom. And well, the easiest answer is to simply move where the Squat homeworlds were. There's a lot, and probably most of the fanbase these days, that didn't even know where the Squat homeworlds were in the first place. So it could work. Their fates being so mysterious would absolutely be helped by their homeworlds being unreachable, or at least more out of the way. This would also make their fate at the hands of the Tyranids more easily explainable as well. The squats being out on the galactic rim somewhere was simply the first to feel the Tyranids' wrath. A few handful of survivors fleeing what was left of their homeworlds to escape into the depths of space, which I think is probably what's going to be the current situation for the Leagues. Left as a collection of gathered vessels and wandering nomads throughout the galaxy. I know that is pretty much Eldari territory here, but it's what makes the most sense for me, and we'll get back to that later. If we instead go with the assumption that the squat homeworlds are still going to be located next to the Maelstrom, the main problem I've heard with that over the years is that there was never a hive fleet that reached that portion of the galaxy. However, that could be easily explained. Maybe something as simple as the first unrecorded hive fleet appearance, something that arrived before Behemoth even made its invasion of Ultramar. While the Imperium believed this to be the first hive fleet, maybe the truth was there was one earlier, one that eradicated the squat homeworlds. Maybe one so devastating the only way the Leagues could eliminate their enemy was in some way to sacrifice their homes. Either way, it's going to be interesting however they want to develop it. Now, the reason I think this fate of the squats, so to speak, will be kept is because it's a suitable explanation of what could have happened. A Tyranid hive fleet descending upon a portion of the galaxy would truly wipe out everything within its path. We have seen how much the Imperium struggles to counteract these immense invasions, let alone a smaller empire such as the Squats. I know we've seen the likes of the Eldari and the Tau fending off tendrils, but in terms of a several system-wide downfall, well, the Tyranids do fit the bill best in my mind, especially when you want it to be an eradication, so to speak. Now, it would have to end in some form of League victory, as an explanation as to why the Tyranids didn't then further progress within the Imperium, which again maybe could have seen them sacrificing their homeworlds. Now, I'm not saying there couldn't be a twist to the expected tale. We are of course entirely in the dark at this moment, with the Leagues of Votann making what feels like a rather sudden and unexpected return. You could always factor in the ways of the warp, being located so close to the Maelstrom, if indeed that is where their history will remain. It wouldn't be the biggest leap of faith to say perhaps the Squats were engulfed within its storms, either fleeing the Tyranid menace, or maybe something else. Warp storms and sudden appearances certainly come into play a lot more within the current setting, and after the explosion of the Great Rift. It could be an easy explanation to say the warp flooding the galaxy has finally allowed the Leagues of Votann to return to real space. Maybe it was an invasion of the demonic kind. That could certainly rival the Tyranids in terms of menace. For me, I would love to see something really out of the box unexpected. A 40k version of the dwarves delving too deeply, unearthing the slumbering Necrons or Catan. That it was a war against the Necrons that drove them to their destruction. Unfortunately, I think that is pretty unlikely. For me, the Tyranids will be the history we are most likely to find out a little more about. However, regardless of what the ultimate tale of the League's downfall will be, we know it leaves them with an uneasy relationship with the Imperium. That were it not for the threat of chaos, more often than not they could equally find themselves fighting each other. And for me, this is what helps me lean towards the Leagues really being the nomadic wanderers, instead of having resettled elsewhere. The Imperium surely would not be putting up with yet another upstart empire. We've already technically got the Tau, not to mention Necron Lords reclaiming former territories in vast chunks across the galaxy. No, for me, I'm expecting the Leagues to be very much the Wanderers, confined to life amidst the void, that there's really not many of their race left. Not only would that help to make sense of why they have been so absent within the lore, because quite simply they are a very rare occurrence, but maybe also the loss of their former homes could be reason enough for the grudge against the Imperium. That maybe the Leagues of Votann avoid the Imperium at large. That maybe they view the Imperium as having abandoned them. And that would be a really interesting take. That because their one-time friends within the Imperium refuse to help, they are now a mere shadow of their former glory. A few scattered remnants left amid the galaxy. Again, I know this is very much Eldari territory here, but I think it works in regards for the squats. We could very well see they are happy to trade and converse with all the many Xeno races, very much the counter to the anti-Xeno mantra of the Imperium. The Leagues of Votann equally likely to ally with the Tau as they are to ally with the Imperium. Regardless of what the ultimate tale of the League's downfall will be, I'm not too sure how you could bring them back as a major player within the galaxy, and I really don't think they will be. I think they're going to be much more akin to the Tau in scale of power, but without the expansion or the greater good. Great to have them back a part of the setting, but not really a factor in terms of the larger story. I think the Leagues will be much more a tale of grim determination and survival, which would actually be a very good mirror to their kin within the fantasy setting. But of course, only time will tell. As always guys, what do you think? Were you surprised by the return of the squats? Are you happy by their return to the lore? And how do you think it's going to play out? What history do you think we will get to see? And will it still involve the Tyranids? As always, leave your thoughts in the comments below, I love to read them. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. And if you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. If you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too? But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.